Welcome to our Cloud Thinking Bite-sized webinar series. These are short sessions designed to give you an overview of CloudM features and how it looks in the tool. And today we're going to talk about offboarding. This is our agenda for today. Firstly, we'll start off with some introductions to the team. Then we'll talk about some of the challenges we see customers having when they're offboarding their users. We'll then do a dive into the tool and show you what offboarding looks like in the CloudM platform. We'll talk about some of the benefits of using CloudM to offboard your users, and then we'll combat any questions that you have. My name is Maha. I am one of the account managers at the inside sales team here at CloudM.
Hi everybody, I'm one of the customer success managers here at CloudM. My name's Ryan Noakes and I'm here to take you through a bit of a technical demonstration of the offboarding workflow.
So when we talk about offboarding, we kind of have to think about when a user leaves a company, how do you ensure that all of their data is securely taken care of? And I mean, what about human error? Can we ensure that we've removed them from everything that we can? But this is where CloudM comes in. We allow you to use powerful workflows to automate the removal of users and improve overall data security. And in turn, we make it easier and simpler for your IT teams to do this. The four main challenges we see when it comes to offboarding, this is from speaking with customers and just what they've combated in the past. So the first one is ensuring that data is securely managed when an employee leaves. We all have to comply with GDPR, so we need to make sure that we've kept the data for a set amount of time. And this is where the issue of license creep can come in. And you end up using too many Google or Microsoft licenses for users who are no longer in the company. And this in turn means you spend more money. We can help you tackle this. The next challenge is ensuring you transfer these leavers' data and to be able to access these files if needed. We'll think of a scenario here. Say someone from the sales team leaves the organization. Of course, they have a lot of information in their email from conversations they've had with customer, and perhaps the manager needs to access these emails to be able to speak to these customers. We can give them access to be able to do that and make sure they're up to date with that. Third issue is that it can be a long-winded process to ensure that systems accesses are revoked effectively, and there are a lot of things to consider. I'll go back into the human error piece. Sometimes we can forget things, of course, that's only natural, but with our 25 automated step workflow, you can ensure that things like revoking oath tokens and wiping business accounts on mobile devices are handled effectively. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the issue of license cost is a huge one for a lot of businesses, but we can help you tackle this. And I will hand over to my colleague Ryan, who will dive deeper into offboarding.
Thanks for that. Yes, as some of you may remember, we went through a couple of things before on one of these bite-sized series, and today I'm back again to show you the offboarding workflow. Now, we've discussed kind of how we can help you save time and obviously money. And actually, there's a number of steps that we're going to go through that you might not even realize that you need to do. And the idea is to eliminate anything that you need to do manually and save you kind of time in terms of that automation, but also keep a consistent and compliant workflow for when someone leaves a business. So first of all, there's a number of different ways that this can actually trigger. One of them is if you're a Google customer and you suspend an account in the Workspace admin console, you could trigger that process there. There's more that we could go into, and if you are ever interested in having a deep dive session, please do get in contact with us and I'm more than happy to put that time in. Now, there's a couple of people throughout the policy that you might want to name, and the first person is the person at the top of the policy, and that's going to be the person that requests for approval, and that is the default kind of destination. Sometimes we can change that. But let's actually get into the workflow actions, okay? As we mentioned, there's a number of different steps, and I'm going to take you through kind of from the top down and kind of talk about some of the key ones. First of all, as you can see, CloudM actually allows you to approve this workflow. So it's not just something that's going to kick off. This is all fully customizable as well. So we can build and help you build around your business process. You've got the ability to take, add, remove any of these steps and put a pause and wait time into each one. So once you've requested approval, as I said, actually, there's a couple that you might want to add. So let's add them in now, actually, and then we can talk about the rest. You then have the option to prompt for resource allocation. Now, one of the really big benefits of the offboarding workflow is that when a leaver leaves, you can transfer that data. Now, you can actually do this on a case-by-case basis. Yes, of course, you can set the default destination, but if each person may have a different preference of where that needs to go, tick this button and we can kind of get that done. You then have some of the other stuff that you would need to do necessarily manually in your kind of own environment, and that would be setting an out of office. And of course, when we want to set an out of office, we can use profile attributes to create that message, and you can actually set a contact in which is inserted within the out of office. We can do things like wipe mobile device if that's been set up. We can change the password to an automatically generated 16-character alphanumeric. Again, this is preventing logins, but it's also clearing all those cookies in those reset password questions. We can revoke a number of things, including two-step verification, app-specific passwords, and most importantly, I guess, OAuth tokens, because actually when you install CloudM Manage for the first time, your environment actually allows that access through an OAuth token. So actually by revoking these, you ensure that nobody can access CloudM or your other environment, vice versa. We then have the ability to archive data, and this is something that we're going to actually discuss in an upcoming bite-sized series. You can then delegate access, where you give the keys to somebody's account. You can move the user to another organizational unit if you want to kind of get them out of the way. You can hide the user from the global address list for those Google customers of ours. You can rename a user as well, which means you can actually recycle that license. And again, this is now where we can kind of start saving you a little bit of money and you don't need to keep that. You can then assign the alias. And then kind of when we start looking at 15 onwards, this is where it gets really unique and really clever. Because within the offboarding workflow, there's a number of transfer of ownership steps or migrate information steps. So we can transfer the ownership of documents. And as I said before, you can select a destination of who that needs to be. It could be a specific person, it could be a domain admin, or as Maha said, it could be their manager. If they have sites, you can transfer the ownership of them. You can also migrate calendar events. Now you think about kind of in a real life scenario, how handy this is. Not only are you going to get that person's data, but especially using the scenario that we did earlier in terms of a salesperson. If they leave, they may have a calendar of appointments booked, and actually that could be transferred over to their colleague that's working in the same geo, let's say, and then they have an understanding of who they've got a booked call with. So the visibility of calendar events, and you're not just going to lose them when you delete the account. If they own any groups, you can transfer the ownership of that. You have the transfer of ownership of contacts. And again, this will go over from your contacts to the new destination. If they're duplicates, you can merge. Remove them from any groups that they're in. Number 21 is actually the most unique thing, okay? Because CloudM is the only offboarding tool out there on the market that can actually migrate emails from one person's account to another. And the reason is because we use our world-leading migration technology to do that along with the other steps. So not only are you going to get their drive data, you're actually going to be able to move over everything in their inbox, their unread, their sent, their junk, and get full visibility on that account, which ultimately means you do not have to keep that account. You don't have to keep it suspended for any period of time because you've got that data. Then we unassign the license, returning that to the available pool. We suspend the license if they're not already. And then obviously, last but not least, we actually delete that user as well. Now, the thing that I want you to remember, everything that we've just gone through is all automatic. So these are 24 steps in this policy that's going to run 1 to 24. If you have them all turned on, of course, you can customize. That's going to take all of that process through step by step automatically and do all of these individual things in the background, and you get a kind of a status on them. So now you kind of understand how we build that workflow and the little different elements. I'm going to throw back to Maha now that can actually kind of tell you the benefits of using such a workflow like this to actually combat those challenges we spoke about previously.
Thank you so much for that deep dive, Ryan. That was really great to see. I mean, like you said, we have so many steps and it's really simple just to offboard a user with our tool. So I have a statistic here. Deprovisioning 5 to 10 accounts manually per week takes an admin on average 2 hours. Over 50 weeks, that's 100 hours. That's a lot of time IT admins spend on offboarding users. But with our workflow, I mean, you set it up once and in a click of a button, a user can be offboarded. So that saves a lot of time for the IT admins. Those manual steps are reduced to one easy automatic step within the deprovisioning process. With our 24-step workflow, we ensure that everything is handled when a user leaves. So as I mentioned before, and as Ryan mentioned, revoking the oath tokens, which often can be forgotten about, and that improves overall data security within our tool. We have steps such as the archive step, which ensures that the data is migrated to cloud storage such as GCP. We will tackle that in another bite-sized webinar. And finally, with a highly customizable policy, you can tailor CloudM to suit the needs of your business with features like setting up the appropriate executor and being able to remove and add steps in the process. Thank you so much for watching our bite-sized webinar on offboarding. If you have any questions at all, please email me on my email address below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.
Thanks so much for listening. It's been a pleasure to sit down with you guys again and take you through another feature of CloudM Manage. I hope that you understand a little bit more now how just with one simple workflow, not only can you save time, but you can also save money